نحمده ونصلي صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم. We're trying to finish a bit early today. We can, because it's important that we realise the importance of our time. But that doesn't mean that you go home and watch TV or just waste that time. It's important that you make use of all of your time. You are on this earth for a limited period of time. And one of the reasons why how you can get out of these bad times is to make better use of your time. And when we come onto this surah, you'll realise that actually being proactive and doing good jobs and good things is going to help you come out of this. So the topic I was given today was about how to cope with bad times. And generally, all of us go through some bad situations or bad times, especially in the month of January, which is commonly seen as you know, a depressing time for a lot of people. And there's many reasons for that. We won't go to that. People, you know, you're midway through the winter now. You've had 3-4 months of dark nights, of cold weather. You know, Christmas. That's why Christmas is right in the middle, and they put the lights on just to make people happier and make people, you know, perk you up a little bit. But when that ends, it brings you down, and it shows these artificial stimulants that you have, a bit like the Red Bull and everything else you drink. These artificial stimulants, once you stop them, they actually make you worse. And contrary to actually doing good things, that once you stop them, they actually make you stronger or leave you stronger. So we'll talk about how we can cope with bad times. And rather than just me talk about what I think is the way you cope with bad times, we come to the Quran and listen to where the Quran has told us and the messages that the Quran has given us. We need to live our life. People say, you know, we live our lives according to the Quran, but what does that actually mean? You see a lot of people who will be reciting the Quran, who always talk about the Quran, but actually their actions and their deeds and their character are nowhere near that. So it's important that you understand the Quran, but only understanding the Quran is not enough. You need to then bring that in yourself, internalize it, so that inside you understand it and be like that. The Prophet ﷺ said in that famous hadith that we used against the people of Najd, they said that there would be a group of people who will recite the Quran and you think, you know, how wonderful the Quran is. You see their prayers and you think, you know, how wonderful their prayers are. They're nothing like yours. And then you see their fasting and you think your fast is nothing compared to their fast. Their fast is very superior. But the Prophet ﷺ said that the Iman won't go below their throat, as in they'll have no part of Iman inside them. So there's people who won't have any Iman on them. So don't just look at that, you know, you talk about the Quran, you read the Quran. You need to internalize it and you need to bring that inside yourself and change your actions according to the Quran. And you'll see a lot of people now become self-styled coaches, like lifestyle coaches or mental health experts, and they've got no qualifications of it at all. And you can understand if you went to a doctor who had no qualification and he started prescribing you medicines, or you went to a trainer, a personal trainer or a physiotherapist who had no qualification and he started giving you exercises, you can imagine the damage that could do to your physical well-being. Similarly, anybody who's not really understanding how your brain works and how your emotions work and react, listen to them. That can actually destroy your mental well-being because they're not qualified enough. And that's why you'll see now, us Sunnis used to get criticised for doing lots of wazaif and saying, you know what, if you read this thing 33 times, this will happen. If you do this 100 times, this will happen. Now you'll see all the others doing the same thing. And you see many of them on YouTube coming up with all this stuff. The first question is, where's the proof of that? Whenever we said that, saying, you know, our elders said that if you read this surah or you read this verse this many times, you'll get this benefit. They'll say, well, that's your elder, or that's your scholar, or that's your peer, or that's your Sufiya saying that. Where's the proof of this? Now they themselves are coming up with this stuff. And you're saying, where does that actually come about it? But what our elders have told us is that you can't just give the same verse to everybody, because there's an impact on that verse. The words have an impact on you. And some wazaif could actually be bad for you, because the essence and the strength of them and the burden of them could be too much for you. That's why you need to get any wazaif that you get from somebody who knows what they're doing and knows you, and they can prescribe. Just because one person's been given a certain medicine doesn't mean that applies to you. You don't know what you're allergic to, you don't know what your strength is, you don't know whether you suffer from the same ailments. You may have the same symptoms, but the reason may be different. That's why you need to be careful about who we take your mental well-being from and who you listen to as well. Just so you wouldn't listen to anybody for a physical well-being, you can't just listen to everybody. So ask them where they're getting information from. That's why if you want to find out about your mental well-being and your emotional well-being, then look at the Quran first, because this is the word of Allah Ta'ala. And what does Allah Ta'ala say? And what the messages Allah Ta'ala is giving us. So this is the 93rd verse of the Quran called Surah Ad Duha. This is a really important verse, important surah, especially for us who praise the Prophet ﷺ, eulogize the Prophet ﷺ. And every time we hear the praise of the Prophet ﷺ, our heart glows, our heart sparkles and illuminates whenever we hear the praise of the Prophet ﷺ. And this surah is special because it's 11 verses. Every verse is addressing the Prophet ﷺ. Allah Ta'ala is speaking to the Prophet ﷺ. So if you look through this, the first two words are qasam, but every other verse you have the dhamir of God, which means you. So it's not Allah Ta'ala talking about the Prophet ﷺ, it's Allah Ta'ala speaking to the Prophet ﷺ. So it's direct speech between Allah Ta'ala and the Prophet ﷺ. Allah Ta'ala is comforting and reassuring the Prophet ﷺ, and the way He's doing that is through direct speech, not through talking about the Prophet ﷺ in third person. Allah Ta'ala is talking to the Prophet ﷺ directly with the khitab of you. And this is an important lesson for us, that if you've got a friend or a colleague who's struggling or is unwell or is feeling down, speak to them directly. Converse with them. And you know that yourself, when you speak to somebody directly, and when somebody speaks to you, that lightens your burden. So Allah Ta'ala is saying that don't just talk about somebody, don't just think about it. Converse with that person, reassure that person, and reassure them by talking to them directly. We've got a bad habit nowadays that even when we're talking to one another, you're on your phone, or we're looking elsewhere. Like I might be talking to you, but I've got my phone in my hand and I'm saying, yeah, how's your day been, how you feeling? And I'm looking down. I'm not actually giving you my full concentration. And look at people directly. This is why it's direct speech. So talk to people directly, and that personal communication has a great impact. You looking at somebody that has a great impact, but you speaking directly to somebody has a great impact. So the first lesson from this is direct speech has an impact on the person who's struggling or the person who needs consolation and reassurance. Why was this verse revealed? If we understand that, then we understand the context. So this surah was revealed because Allah Ta'ala wanted to reassure the Prophet ﷺ. At the start, and this is a Makki surah, as it was revealed in the Makkan period. So the classification of the Quran in terms of timing of revelation is either Makki or Madani. And that doesn't actually mean where it was revealed. Although they're known by their names of places, Makkah and Medina Sharif, Makki period means the period before the migration. So it doesn't matter where the surah was revealed. If it was revealed before the Prophet's migration, it's known as Makki. If it was revealed after the period of Prophet's migration to Medina, it's known as Madani. There are some surahs such as Surah Al-Fath, Idha Ja'a Nasrullahi wal Fath, Surah Al-Nasr, that was revealed in Makkah Sharif, because it was revealed either at the time of the conquest of Makkah or the final Hajj, but it's known as Madani. So it's revealed in the area of Makkah, but it's known as Madani because it's revealed in the Prophet's Madani period, his Madani life. So this is the Makki surah, so it's revealed at the start. And one thing we know, normally the surahs that were revealed at the start of the Prophet's prophethood, they're normally either talking about the mushrikeen and the polytheists, or they're there to comfort the Prophet, because that time was a hard time for the Prophet. The kuffar of Makkah were tormenting the Prophet and the Muslims. They were, attacking them, tormenting them, terrorizing them, such that the Prophet allowed some of the companions to migrate to Abyssinia, which is modern day Ethiopia. So we know that people migrated. And that's the reason at the end the Prophet also migrated to Medina Sharif, because they were tormenting the Prophet. The Prophet's life was in threat. They were physically attacking the Prophet as well. So at the start of the revelation was constant. It was coming every day to the Prophet. So the Prophet was receiving revelation constantly. But then the revelation stopped. for a while. There was a pause, and the Quran took 23 years to reveal. It wasn't revealed all in one go. So there was a pause after that initial start, and then the mushrikeen thought, this is good stuff. They started to make accusations of the Prophet. So they said, your Lord has left you. Your Lord hasn't come to you. Your Lord has left you. And they said, this is Abu Lahab's wife. And they said, you haven't had a revelation. Your Lord has now left you. Your Lord doesn't like you. And they were tormenting the Prophet. And the Prophet didn't take this to heart or anything. But because people were saying this, and there was a pause now, and now to understand, to reassure the Prophet that this isn't the case, and also to answer these critics. Because we know the Prophet wouldn't have thought that Allah Ta'ala has left him. Why would the Prophet think that? Because we know that prophethood, if Allah Ta'ala started prophethood and started sending revelation, why would he stop? So the Prophet, but the people are accusing the Prophet of this, and tormenting and taunting the Prophet that Allah Ta'ala has now left you. So then Allah Ta'ala sent this verse down to reassure the Prophet, send this surah down to reassure the Prophet that Allah Ta'ala has not left you. And in this, it's saying that these people now are saying you're going through bad times because Allah Ta'ala has left you now. This is you had good times before, but now it's bad. You're going through a difficult period now. So Allah Ta'ala is now reassuring the Prophet that despite what these people are saying, you aren't going through a bad period. And Allah Ta'ala then lists out the reasons why you're not going through a bad period. And that's where the lessons are for us. That remind yourself how Allah Ta'ala reassured the Prophet that you are not going through any bad period, you're not going through any bad times. We learn from that the same messages can apply to our lives as well, that we're not going through those bad periods as well. So when you think you're going through bad periods, because the Prophet wasn't, but people said they were. And this shows you that often what you think is bad isn't actually that bad. It's mainly in your head. Because what's happening outside is happening outside. But one of the things that psychology would say is that people have this thing of catastrophizing things, that you make something massive, something small happens and you think, oh my God, this is such a massive disaster, it's such a massive calamity. Especially our women do that. Something small happens, but you make it into a really big thing, and then you wind yourselves up thinking, this is really bad, this is really bad, but actually it was a small thing. Somebody might have said something bad to you and you just get really depressed, or it starts raining, something just doesn't happen, somebody's late or something hasn't happened, and then you start thinking this and this, and you end up destroying your whole life if you're not careful. So it does show that it's actually inside you that matters. How you respond to that bad times is the key thing. That's what all the reassurances are, not about doing things, but actually changing your mindset. And it's all about your mindset in how to deal with bad times. That's more than half the battle of coping with bad times. When I was young, back in the 70s and 80s, we used to hate winter. When it was winter, we used to hate it because there was nothing to do. And it was dark nights, it was cold, you couldn't go out, you sat at home, it used to be dark at 4 o'clock, and we didn't have TVs in those. We did have TVs, but there were only 2 channels or 3 channels on them, and there's nothing on them. And you were bored stiff and you were just depressed all the time in winter. And whenever winter would start, you fall into depression. But that's because that's what we thought was bad. But then there's a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that actually winter is good for the believer because he can fast in the daytime because the days are short, and he can spend the night in worship because the nights are long. So you see the mentality changed. We're thinking actually days are short, we can't, what can I do? But actually you can fast because the days are shorter for you, easier, and the nights are actually a lot longer, which means you can actually settle down and get to some work and do something about it. So you can see it both ways. You can either think that actually these dark, cold, short days there's nothing to do, or you can see that actually I can get great reward by fasting in a shorter period of time, and I can just spend most of the night or a lot of the night studying or working. And now you find people who are studying or like reading or doing something, they actually like the winter because no distraction, and they can just settle down at home and get some work done. So you see, what we think is actually a bad thing, actually by changing your mindset, and you do that. And there's a concept in the Western world, they call it wintering, which is linked to that, which means how do you get through these bad times? And normally people thought winter's a really bad time with depression, but actually people are saying, are you a good winterer? Can you winter well? Which means, can you get through the winter by doing good things? Can you actually get through that by benefiting from it and not actually getting depressed about it? And all that is about your mindset. So you go through this surah, and I said if people have got the Quran on their phones or the Musafs, it's Surah 93, we'll follow the words. It's important that you look at the words of the Quran, because the words are really important. A lot of people say, just read the translation. We'll come to the translation, but actually the words and the style of the Quran and the style of that, even the sentence construction where one word is placed before another word tells us a lot of things. So the people that tell you just read the translation, they're actually trying to miss out the key messages that are actually just within the construction of the Quran. So the first verse is just one word with the qasam, Ad Duha. The term wa at the front is the word for qasam. So you'd say, I take the qasam of this. Or, and there's other letters that also mean qasam, but normally in the Quran the word wa has been used. So wa Ad Duha, which means the qasam of Ad Duha. Ad Duha, two main meanings have been mentioned, and the most prominent meaning is that what we call the time of Josh, or the time of mid-morning to noon. So not the whole morning, but where the sun has risen, about 9 o'clock, some people say it's about 9 o'clock in the morning, till about 12 o'clock. So it's that period of time when the sun is out there, is strong, and is getting stronger and stronger, till it reaches noon. And once it reaches noon, there's no longer a duha, then the zawal starts and then the rest of the day starts to descend. So it's that period in the morning. And one of the things about this period between 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock, it's same all year round. So even in the winter, the sun's out there by 9 o'clock and it's got that kind of, the strength it's going to have till about 12 o'clock. And even in the summer between 9 and 12, that's when the sun is at its strongest. And it gets stronger when it's at the zenith, but that's when it's really in its pomp and in its all its glory. So that's the period of time that Allah has taken the qasam of Ad Duha. Others said it means the whole day, but most of the Mufassirin said it actually means that small period of time. And this is significant because one, it's bright, it's a new day as well, so it's got that new thing about it. It's bright and strong, it's in its strength, it's growing as well, it's getting stronger and stronger with every moment until it reaches zenith. And this is the time, if you have a look around, especially in our own countries, this is the time a lot of the business and trade will take place, when you meet people. Once you get to Zohar, especially like in Spain or other places like that, in warm countries, people then go to sleep after Zohar, after having their lunch after midday, because it's so strong. The markets collapse, the markets go quiet, but between 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock, the markets, business, trade is at its full fervour. A lot of people around, there's a lot of hustle and bustle. The whole, the glory of the world is happening at that time. It's like the time of happiness, time of expectations. If you're a businessman who opened up his shop, or go out to work, start your taxi, you've got expectations for the full day. You're still happy, aren't you? You think, what will the day hold for me? So that symbolises, expectations, hope, and glory. Then the next qasam, Allah takes two qasams in this surah. One layli, and the night, and the qasam of the night. Idha saja. When saja means when something becomes still. So when it becomes still. So with the day we're talking about Ad Duha, when it's hustle and bustle, when everything's up and about, when it's doing things, but then the night when it stabilizes or when it becomes still. And they said when it becomes still is the middle of the night, or the last part of the night when everybody's asleep and there's nobody there. It's gone quiet and it's all empty. Or it means when people are sleeping. This is back into the night, people are sleeping. So Allah Ta'ala here has taken a qasam of two things. And when Allah Ta'ala takes a qasam of something, He doesn't just take the qasam of any random thing. There's wisdom behind what He's taking the qasam of. And normally the thing He's taking the qasam of is linked to what He's taking the qasam about. So it's not just any random thing about, like all of us say, I swear on my mother's life, and then talk about something else, I swear on my mother's life, like Liverpool are the best team. What's that got to do with your mother's life? Kind of thing. It's got to be linked to, the qasam, the strength of the qasam should be linked with the strength of that thing you're saying, or there should be some relevance in this. So Allah Ta'ala has taken the qasam of this, two things. And if you think about it, they're a contrast. So Allah Ta'ala is reassuring the Prophet ﷺ that you're not going through bad times. But He's taking the qasam of two opposite things completely. Ad Duha is the daytime, the morning time when the hustle and bustle, the sun's out, it's light, it's bright, it's warm, noise, clamour, you're with people. And then wal layli idha saja, when the night is empty, when there's nothing happening at night. Now, if you go through a marketplace, especially in our own country, you travel through, say, Allen Rock Road at Allen Rock bad because there's probably people messing about at 4 o'clock in the morning as well. But if you go through a normal marketplace, especially in our own countries, in the day to morning, hustle and bustle is packed. But then you go through the same marketplace at night, there's nobody there. It appears that there was never anybody here. It just looks absolutely desolate and dead. But a few hours earlier, 12 hours earlier, 13 hours earlier, that place was absolutely jamming. That place was buzzing. It had light and everything else. So Allah Ta'ala taking the custom of two extremes, and is showing you, firstly, if you're going through bad times, is showing you that actually things change, and things change very quickly. So that just as the hustle and bustle doesn't last, the night's not going to last as well. So Allah Ta'ala is showing you with that custom that actually, no matter how bad your situation is, it will change soon. So if in 24 hours or 15 hours, the situation in that place can change so rapidly and so quickly and so dramatically, why can't your life change? And all of these things are temporary. When does dawn break? Dawn breaks when the night is at its darkest. So it keeps getting darker and darker. When it's got its darkest, what happens then? It doesn't all collapse and extinguish, it then starts to get bright again. So it shows you've got to reach that bottom point to start to recover. So as you're going towards a bottom point and you think you're getting more and more bad and things are getting worse and worse for you, but you realise you're actually getting closer to the end of this bad period, and sooner or later you'll have to start rising again. And so that gives you that optimism that there's always something to look forward to, that this will end. Just as the dark night ends, and in a few hours' time, that marketplace that's absolutely desolate and empty, in a few hours' time, that's going to be buzzing with people. It's going to be clamouring, it's going to be noisy, it's going to be hot, it's going to be, glory will all be there. So quickly that can happen. Similarly, in your life, it can happen very quickly to you. As soon as you're getting depressed and more worse, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Things will happen and things will get better for you. Nothing's going to last forever. Just as the night doesn't last forever, nothing will last forever. The other thing about this is it keeps you grounded. One of the reasons why we fall into depression and have bad times is because of our expectations. And I say this to people who are getting married, that part of the reason you have issues is because you think, as soon as you get married, life's going to be so good and so great, and you're going to have a great life, you're going to get on with one another, and things are very easy. And because you raise yourself to that high pedestal and high expectations, as soon as something slightly goes wrong or doesn't go to expectations, it all collapses because you've got yourself so high that you can only fall down, and when you do fall down, you're going to fall down high. So you never raise yourself up high, so high that you fall down so heavy. Keep yourself grounded, and that stops you falling into bad depression because you've never had that high expectation. And I say to people that when you get married, expect difficulties, expect to compromise. You're not single anymore. You can't go and play football 5 times a week. You can't go to the gym. You can't hang around with your mates anymore because it's different now. You have somebody else in your life that you need to now make time for. So you are going to adjust and have to adjust. So it's not all going to be brilliant. What happens in the daytime? When does the sun get strongest? If you think you're having really good times and you're getting better and better and things are getting good for you, realize that at some stage it's going to end. So stay grounded. Don't think yourself, this is all going to continue, because the sun rises and rises and rises until it gets to its zenith, till it gets to the point, its highest point, and when it's absolutely hot and you can't stand under it. But as soon as that happens, what happens? It starts to decline. So it shows that just as the day gets stronger and stronger, it doesn't matter how strong it is, it's going to start to decline. Similarly, your good times, don't think that they're going to last forever. They won't last forever. They're going to start to decline at some stage. So always stay grounded. So if you stay grounded, you never drop down too much, because you never have that drop. It'll be a smaller drop. And because you're grounded without knowing that this is going to end, you won't fall as deep as most people will. So you kind of stay within a normal level. So a bit like if you look at your a blood pressure chart, you see you don't go like this up and down. You kind of go stay within a slight, isosceles. You stay in a normal period, which keeps you grounded and keeps you well. So just as the day ends, the night will end as well. But just as the night ends, the day will end as well. And you see the cycle, and people talk about the cycle of life. You have ups and downs. Just you have day, night, day, night, day, night. Your life is about up and down. You'll have some good weeks and good days. Then you'll have some bad weeks and bad days. But then you'll have good days again. So it kind of gives you that grounding as well. The other key thing to remember, which is linked to this, bad times that apparently appear to be bad times are actually good for you. If you get down to, like I said earlier, a bit like winter, if you realise actually you might think that winter is bad, but actually there's benefit from it, and you can take benefit from it. And if you realise actually the bad times are there, good. One of the benefits of bad times is it keeps you grounded. If you didn't have this grounding, you don't know what might happen to your iman. Look what happened to Pharaoh. When he had all that wealth and good times, what happened? He became arrogant. And what did he say? He said, I'm God. He became arrogant. A lot of people, when they have so much good time, they get so much wealth, or they get so much success, they fall off the railings. You stay grounded. A lot of our people, we see all these influencers, or you see all these YouTubers or Instagram people with their lifestyles. And before that, you had all these celebrities, you had all these film stars, you had all these sports stars, and you thought, wow, they've got such a wonderful life. But you don't realize how many of those end up in rehab, how many of those end up in depression, how many of those ended up on drugs or drink and destroy their lives. There's very few of those going to be what you would call, had the perfect lifestyle, ended up having a good life. A lot of them ended up destroyed because they were not able to ground themselves, they're not able to understand that. And that's why bad times benefit you, because then you appreciate what the good times will be. Take the data. Have you ever thought, again going back to why Allah says, "What duha wal layli idha saja," why the day and night? Why do we have night? Why did Allah just give us day all the time? Why couldn't it just been day all the time? Why do we have to have these nights in circular life? Why do we have winter, spring, autumn? And the best places in the world are those that have the 4 seasons. The places that don't have 4 seasons, have 1 or 2 seasons, either the extremes or whatever, they don't have that kind of benefit of them. There's a benefit in having these changing seasons. Sometimes, like, you think, if you take an example of yourself, you're working hard, and you think to yourself, if I kept working, I'd get more done. And a lot of people do that, they keep working, and not take a break, not have a rest. But we know if you do that, your level of productivity and efficiency drops, your health drops. But people who take a break, who take holidays or take a good rest, they actually in the long run do more. And you not notice, if you did 4 hours, if you worked 10 hours solid, if you study for 10 hours solid or you work for 10 hours solid, is that better, or is it better to work 4 hours solid, take a 2-hour break, and then come back refreshed? Because when we come back the next day to work, you're more refreshed. When you come to the end of your working day, you're tired, you're tired, you're fed up with it now, you go home, you sleep, you come back the next day fresh. So the stuff that you couldn't do in the evening because your brain wasn't working, it's working the next day because you've had that rest. Similarly, just that you have the night to give you rest and to think about it. Similarly, having your bad times from your good times means that you can benefit from your good times even more because you've understood the value of good times. You also appreciate the good because you've tasted bad. If you never tasted bad, if you never tasted what a bad time was, you would never appreciate the good times because you'd always be good. You get used to it and you'd always want it. It's a bit like, you shouldn't always eat good food all the time because if you do that, you just expect it all the time and you lose that taste. But if you have it once in a while, you have that expectation. And you see some of our awliya and elders, they wouldn't go to Makkah Sharif and Medina Sharif all the time. They'd leave it. They'd leave it for a period of time until they really wanted it. That yearning came into them and they were desperate to go, and then they would go because when they went after a long time, you can imagine how happy they were and how much enjoyment they gave. But if you keep going every day and every week, are you really going to get that enjoyment? And when we kids, we never had takeaway. Whenever you had a takeaway, you thought, wow, it's brilliant. Because you'd have it once in a while and you think, this is a different taste. But now that you're eating every day, it's lost that rigor. So having that downtime, having that bad period, actually makes you appreciate having that good period. And it just strengthens you for that as well. Because that rest that comes in, that keeps you on your ground. And the other thing is, when these things happen, a lot of ourselves blame ourselves for it. But the day changes and the night changes without us doing anything. It changes by itself. Allah Ta'ala changes it, not by you. So you realize that actually good times and bad times, there's only a limited amount of things you can do to the outside. You can't stop the day changing. You can't stop the day descending. You can't stop the night coming. And then you can't stop the night changing into day. Allah Ta'ala does this. And part of the problem that we have is that we think that we're in control of everything. And you want to be in control of everything. And then when you're not in control of the event, you fall into depression and you start feeling bad. But you realize that actually, that thing outside, that's not in my control. I can't stop the day rising. I can't stop the day getting to zenith and the day then descending. I can't stop the onset of night. I can't do that. So that's nothing for me to worry about. Don't get depressed because it's getting dark. Don't get depressed because the day is set. It's what you can control is your reaction to it. And that's why if you can control your reaction to it, don't get too depressed. And realize actually I can benefit from the night. The night's there to benefit from me. These bad times that are appearing, actually there's a benefit in them for me. I think they're bad times, but there's wisdom in them. So Allah Ta'ala has sent these bad times to me. They're strengthening me. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, mentioning Tafsir Mazari under Surah Qariya, which means that on the day of judgment, the people who did Hajj will come and they'll be accounted for, and they'll be, if they were good, they were good, if they were bad, they were bad. People who prayed will come, they'll be accounted for. People who did jihad will come. And then a group of people will come called the Ahlul Bala. These are the people who in the world suffered misery. So Bala means, torment and bad things happen to you. So they're the Ahlul Bala. They will come forward. And Allah Ta'ala will say, because they suffered misery in the world, they can go to Jannat. That they will go without any hisab, because they suffered and the pain and the misery in the dunya. So let them go, and then they will go. And it says that the people, when they see this, who had good luxury in their life, they will start screaming and saying, if only we could go back to the dunya, we would cut ourselves up into small pieces, and we will tear ourselves into pieces, and so we could feel the pain in the dunya to get the reward in the akhirah. So all this pain that you have here, it's how you react to it. There's benefit in having this downtime. There's benefit in having this thing. Because how would we know that you really love Allah Ta'ala? And how do you know, think about it, how do you know someone's a good friend of yours? If you're on the up and up, everybody's your friend. If you're driving in posh cars, if you're dining out, and you live in big houses, everybody wants to be your friend. But your true friend will be the one who's with you when you're down, when you're out, when nobody wants to talk to you, when you've got nothing, when you're depressed. It's that person who will come to see you. When you're rich, everybody's going to come and see you and talk to you. But when you're a nobody, the person who comes to see you at that particular time is going to be your true friend. And similarly, how can you say to Allah Ta'ala that I am your true friend if you're only praising Allah Ta'ala when good things are happening? You've got to show to Allah Ta'ala that it doesn't matter what's happening to me, I will always pray my namaz. No matter what's happening to me, I will always do good things. No matter what happens to me, I will always praise Allah Ta'ala. A good Muslim is the one who's happy when Allah Ta'ala gives you, and when Allah Ta'ala doesn't give you. You're happy in good times, and you're happy with Allah Ta'ala in bad times, not just in good times. And similarly, some people only remember Allah Ta'ala when bad things happen to them. And we know that every time something bad happens, that's a lot of the people who went turn to Allah Ta'ala. So your bad times are a blessing, because a lot of the people came back to Islam or came back to practice Islam when they went through a bad time. There's very few of us who actually came back to Islam when we were on the up, because at that time we were intoxicated by the world and everything else. But having that downtime, having that bad thing happen to us is when Allah Ta'ala will come back to Allah Ta'ala. So seeing this bad time actually, if that has then brought you to realize and correct yourself to come back to Allah Ta'ala, that's a blessing. That bad time wasn't a bad time, that was actually really good. If you know to went bankrupt or something bad happened to you, but that then led you to pray namaz, that then led you back to the deen and studying, then that was a good thing in the long run, because that's what you wanted. That was the whole purpose of your life. What good's that success that takes you away from Allah Ta'ala? Similarly, One of the things that people should do in your worldly life as well is reflect. Because we're such a pace, we don't reflect on things. Especially if you're studying something, you should always reflect. And one of the ways of Sufi are in the evening is reflect on how your day went. What did you do today? What did you do good and what did you do bad? And you reflect on that. And then you make changes to your life. And then you come back the next day a lot smarter, a lot cleverer. And then with those adjustments in your life, I did that bad. I shouldn't have said that to somebody else. Or I should have woken up earlier. I should have done this differently. Similarly, when you're having bad times, it gives you time to reflect on your life. Look back on your life and think, okay, where have I gone wrong? Don't blame other people. Blame yourselves first. If something bad happens to me, I don't blame Harris or I don't blame somebody else. I blame myself. Even though Harris might have done something bad to me, ask yourself, what happened? What did I do to cause that? What have I done that has brought this about? And you correct yourselves. So the next time you do have that success or you do something, you correct yourselves from it. So you learn from that, you reflect from that, because what did that cause? And then you make sure that doesn't happen again to you. The Prophet ﷺ said that, a Muslim is not bitten twice by the same thing. So you don't make the mistake over and over again, you reflect from it and you learn from it. It's really important that you do all of these things and you understand this. So just as Allah Ta'ala can change it, the other thing is, day and night comes so quickly. You don't realize it, how many days and nights pass. Similarly, good and bad times will pass quickly. At that particular moment in time, you're thinking it's lasting a long time. But actually, in the scheme of things, it's very short, it will go quickly. So you'll have plenty of time to do that. So it will go quickly. So when you're going through good times, no, they're not going to last forever. When you're going through bad times, no, they're not going to last forever. They're only a short period of time. And very soon, it's going to come better. It's going to get better for you all. So after Allah Ta'ala gave this qasam, what did Allah Ta'ala give the qasam for? Ma wadda'aka rabbuka wa ma qala. Ma means nothing, not. Wadda'a means the Prophet ﷺ, as in you. Wadda'a comes from the word wida. Do you know when it says say al-wida to somebody, it means say farewell to somebody. It literally means leaving. So when you say al-wida, you're not saying farewell, you're leaving them. So it means Allah Ta'ala has not left you. Ma wadda'aka, He has not left you. Who? Rabbuka, your Lord. So saying to the Prophet, the Kuffar has said, your Lord's left you. The revelation hasn't come for a few days now. And it's only a few days. Some say it was 3 days, some of us say it was 10 days, some say it was 15 days. The maximum people say it's 25 or 40 days. It's not a really big period of time when you realize it was 23 years, but the Kuffar were looking for every opportunity to do that. So the Kuffar said that Allah Ta'ala left the Prophet. So Allah Ta'ala said, your Lord has not left you. He has not left you. And that's an important message for us as well. If a bad time comes, don't say Allah Ta'ala has left me. Why is bad things happen to me? Realize that actually there was benefit in this. There's some wisdom from Allah Ta'ala in this. That smaller calamity may be saving you from the major calamity. That smaller calamity is saving you from maybe the major calamity of sin and gунah and kufr that you would have gone through if you hadn't had this calamity. He's brought you back to the straight path. So your Lord has never left you. But just because something bad happens to you, always remember Allah Ta'ala. Because Allah Ta'ala has never left you. It's also said, Rabbuka, your Lord has never left you. Remember when I said we need to look at the words of the Quran. Why has Allah Ta'ala chosen the word Rabbuka? Allah Ta'ala could have said, Ma wadda'aka Allah. Allah has not left you. He could have said, your Malik has not left you. Your Hakim has not left you. Or the Rahman has not left you. But he says, your Lord. Rabbuka again, your Lord. Rabb means, from the word that we have in Urdu called tarbiyat, it means to develop you, to grow you, to nourish you. So it's Allah Ta'ala. You might think, your parents have nourished you, they're giving you the food. But actually, Allah Ta'ala has taken you from a child to where you are today. So Allah Ta'ala has taken you, from nothing to something strong. Allah Ta'ala has taken you from the start of your life to today. And He hasn't left you. So why would He leave you now? Allah Ta'ala is nourishing you and He's still your Rabb. And He's still providing for you. Even though you're in bad times, you've still got food in the table, hopefully. You've still got health, hopefully. If you've lost one of those, you've still got other things. Allah Ta'ala has nourished you to this day. So why would He leave you? That's why the word Rabb has been used. He's your Lord. And look at this. It could have just said, Ma wadda'aka Rabbu. Ma wadduka Rabbun. The Lord has not left you. But it says, your Lord. See how He's making it personal. your Lord hasn't left you. So he's saying to you, your Lord is yours. And not saying Rabbukum, all of your Lord, but he's saying you as a singular person. You can see, it's your personal relationship with Allah. So Allah has never left you now, and he's developed you and grown you to this stage. Why would he leave you now? وَمَا كَلَا. One of the things that the kuffar said, that your Lord doesn't like you anymore. And some of us say that. When Allah Ta'ala, for example, like if a parent says, you can't do this, you can't do that, what do teenagers normally say, or kids? Oh, my parents don't like me, my parents don't like me, they don't like me anymore. How many times, we've probably said that ourselves as well. May Allah Ta'ala forgive us for any bad things we've done to our parents or said any bad words. But we probably say that as well. And people will say, Allah Ta'ala doesn't like me, that's why I'm going through all these bad times. Allah Ta'ala is saying, وَمَا كَلَا, and he does not dislike you. Kala means to dislike, to hate, to have find something repugnant, and does not like you. So it's not. So when something bad happens to you, don't think, because you've seen this, some people actually, when bad times happen, some people leave Islam. You just think, bad things have happened. People say, when Sheikh Israr was here, people say, and atheists say, if there's a law, if there's a God, then why do bad things happen? Why did kids die? Why are Muslims getting slaughtered if there's a God? But this is telling you that just as there's day and night, there's wisdom behind this. Just because something bad's happening to a Muslim doesn't mean Allah Ta'ala is hating us. There's some wisdom behind it, there's reason behind this. So just because bad things happen, don't think that it's something because Allah Ta'ala has left us or doesn't like us. There's another reason behind it. Now if you've got your Musaf open the Quran, look at this, it says, and this is a really important point for us Sunnis. Ma wadda'aka, it says to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Allah Ta'ala has not left you, and the Zamir of Ka is here, has not left you, but it doesn't say وَمَا كَلَاكَ. It doesn't say, and Allah Ta'ala does not dislike you. It just says, and Allah Ta'ala does not dislike. We then put the meaning in because it's part of the same sentence that it means, referring back to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But Allah Ta'ala did not put the Zamir of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam with the word dislike. So Allah Ta'ala did not say here, dislike you. He didn't use the word dislike for the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam because it didn't befit him. He didn't want that to mean that there's the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allah Ta'ala is even saying it, even in the Nafi, even he's saying not, even in the Nafi, even negating it, he did not put the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's name or his attribute against the word dislike. So that shows, the love that Allah Ta'ala has for the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the connection that Allah Ta'ala was not prepared to put the word dislike next to the Prophet ﷺ and kept it empty. The Mufassir said, why? What Da'akas got the Zamir, he said, has not left you, and didn't say, that's what it should be, has not left you and does not dislike you. He said, has not left you and does not dislike, full stop. Didn't put the word you against dislike because of the Prophet ﷺ. But that was just a small bit. Then he says, وَلَلْ آخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. This is the key verse in this surah. وَلَلْآخِرَةُ, and the next moment, or the coming moment, or the second moment, or the next moment, خَيْرٌ لَكَ, is better for you, مِنَ الْأُولَى, than the preceding and the first. So it means that, and there's two meanings here. One is in this dunya, meaning your coming time is always going to be better for you than your preceding time. So no matter how bad the situation is, you have to believe that as a Muslim, you're getting better and better. You're on the up and up. Now, our problem is we measure it in the dunya terms, in the worldly terms. But if you measure in the spiritual terms and in terms of your akhirat, you are getting better and better. Because, ask yourselves this, where were you 5 years ago? Where are you now? And don't just measure yourself on just worldly things or health things, but measure yourself on the whole spectrum. You're a rounded person. And as a Muslim, you need to be a rounded person. We only think about, my success criteria is having lots of money, or my success criteria having big biceps, or my success criteria having a nice car. But actually, it's all of that thing. Yes, it's good to have that, but it's not as important as having good iman. It's not as good as having good akhlaq. It's not as good as having good knowledge. So those things have to be there as well. So you ask yourselves this, were you practicing as much as you were now? And as a Muslim, you should be now better. Do you now know more than you did then? Hopefully by coming to these gatherings each week, your knowledge is increasing, your actions are increasing, you are getting better and better. And these are the important things. So Allah Ta'ala is promising you that you are getting better. Your coming moments will always be better than your preceding. So whenever you are depressed or down or thinking you're going through bad times, remember this promise of Allah Ta'ala, your coming moments will be better than your previous moments. So the future is bright for you. And the future is bright for you if you believe in it. Your criteria might be wrong, but believe that actually your future, if you're a good Muslim and you're a true Muslim, will always be better for you, and you will always be getting better and better. And as you get older, and even if you don't see this, what's happening around us, the simple fact that every day that passes, you're getting close to Akhirat. And when you're getting close to Akhirat, you're getting close to Jannah. Because it's our belief that every Muslim will go to paradise. As long as you're firm believing the Prophet ﷺ intercession will raise us, even despite how bad you are, one day you will end up in paradise. So every day that passes, you are getting close to the ultimate of paradise. So no matter how bad anything is, you are getting one day closer and closer to that. And as I said earlier, you get one day closer to the ultimate good thing. And also, as we said, every bad moment that you have in your life should strengthen you. So because it's strengthening you, you're making you stronger, you are getting better and better. Because although apparently you might not think you are, but hopefully internally you're getting stronger. Because the more knocks you take back, it should give you more, make you more resolute, make you more resilient, because you come back after all these knocks. So you're getting much more stronger. The other meaning that's been mentioned is the literal meaning akhirat, which means the hereafter is better than our ula, and ula means dunya because it came first. So your akhirat is going to be better than your dunya. And this is the key thing for us to remember. Our akhirat is going to be better than our dunya. And for the Muslims it is. Because in this world, it's full of pain. And someone said that's what the word dunya comes from. It comes from pain, it comes from torment, and it comes from falsehood and fraud and trickery. With akhirat it's true. And when you get to the akhirat, that's when everything will be good. In akhirat, you'll have anything you want when you get to paradise. Here we get depressed because our parents pass away. We get depressed because bad things happen to us. But on the day of judgment in akhirat, you'll be reunited with your families. So when so every day that passes, you're getting close to that time when you'll be reunited with your loved ones. Here, we see our parents getting old and elderly and getting more frail, and that breaks our hearts when we see that. But remember, in akhirat, they'll be raised as young men and women. They'll be young, they'll be healthy, and they'll never get old there. They'll never get ill there. So they're getting close to that period. The akhirat will be better. Sometimes things are a bit weird. We'll be the same age as our parents. Because everybody will be that young, mature, that young, healthy age. So in this world, you cannot be ill as much as you want, but in the akhirat you'll never be ill. That'll be better for you. You're getting old here, and that's one of the signs of us getting old. That akhirat's coming to us, but there you'll never get old. Here, you can't eat too much because as soon as you eat, you get ill or you get indigestion. There you can eat as much as you want and have everything you want. So no matter how bad this life gets, the rewards for us in the akhirat, are uncountable. You can't even imagine what the rewards will be in akhirat. You think you can imagine them, but you can't. Even with the 99 names of Allah Ta'ala that we're going to recite, some ulama said there's more than 99 names of Allah Ta'ala because they're attributes. There's so many attributes of Allah Ta'ala. These 99 names are the ones that we can relate to because we've got some sort of notion of mercy. We've got some sort of notion, of strength, of power, of rule, of Hakim, of Malik. We've got some sort of notion of that. But our notion is nowhere near the reality of Allah Ta'ala's attribute. We've got some sort of notion of that, some sort of imagination of what that could mean and relate to. But there's other attributes of Allah Ta'ala that we've got no notion of. We could never even fathom what they were. That's why they've never been told to us. So just like in paradise, we're told you'll have rivers of honey, you'll have rivers of milk, you'll have palaces of pearls, you'll have all of these things. That's because we can have some sort of concept of them. But in reality, you've got no idea how they'll be. So our akhirat is going to be where we get to. And our akhirat, no matter how bad your time is, remember your coming period, you'll always be better than where you are now in your past. You're always on the up and up. So you might think you're on the down, but actually, in the grand scheme of things, you are going up. So if you see like a normal graph, you see a graph, it doesn't always go like that straight up. It kind of goes a bit down, then goes back up, goes down. But generally the trend, if you do trend analysis, it's always going up. And as a Muslim, your trend analysis is going up if you understand the whole sphere of what a Muslim should be. And that's what we really need to be as a perfect Muslim, is be a rounded person, not just talking about the materialistic elements, but all the other elements. And then, وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. And why? Because soon Wa means and, la means definitely. Definitely soon, your Lord will give you. He'll give you. What will he give you? He will give you so much, fatarda, that you will become happy. So, people will say, what are you going to get in Akhirat? Basically, you get in Akhirat whatever you want. In Surah Qariya it says, فَهُوَ فِي إِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ, that they will be living a life, radiyah, that actually makes them happy, makes them pleased. So Allah Ta'ala, so you might not, nothing pleases you here, nothing might be making you happy here, but in Akhirat, Allah Ta'ala will give you so much, both in Akhirat and in here, that you will become happy. If only you really understood that, and in Akhirat you will. It says in Jannah, as soon as you think of something you want, you'll get it. You won't have to say it, you just think about it and you'll get it. SubhanAllah. That's how you will get. You will live the life you want to live. You won't live the life that's set out there for you. You will live the life that you want to live. You'll have what you want. You'll be happy there. And that's what you understand, the contrast between this life and that life. If you get everything you want here, then what's the difference? You give up here to get the benefit there, and you'll enjoy it more there. So this life, you can't get everything you want in this world. And you're not supposed to get everything you want in this world, because part of the stuff that you want is actually bad for you here. Not in the next world, but here is bad for you. As I said, you can't eat everything, you can't consume everything. The wealth you get here gets your mind and destroys you, because everything around you is temptation, and you've got set rules here. So you give up here, and you realise that actually you fall into depression because you wanted everything. You can't have everything, and you won't get everything that you want, because that's for the next world. You'll get whatever you want in the next world. Here, make do with what you get. And that's what is, that you're happy with what you've been given. If you haven't been given a big house, you haven't been given a big house, you've been given a small house. Live with it. Accept it. That's what Allah Ta'ala wanted for you. There's hikmah in that. Maybe if you had a big house, bad things will happen to you. If you haven't been in a posh car. If you had a posh car, you may have got dodgy mates, you may have got dodgy girls going after you. Bad things could have happened to you. You could have fallen in temptation. You'd be given a small house. There's a book called Nafatul Adab, which was like a book of literature that we used to read when we studied. And there's a story in that there was a man, and I actually got time to go into this, but he lived in a really bad area and a really bad house and everything else. And people said to him, why do you live here? Surely you want to live in a better area, in a better house and stuff like that. And he said, no, I'm happy here. Then one person came who, because he lived in a big house and all this, so people trusted him. Somebody trusted with amanat, and he fell in temptation with that amanat. So, somebody left some goods with him and he used those goods. And then, and then people said, go to that man, this old man who's living in, this really small house in this poverty area. Go and talk to him and he'll tell you your solution. He went there and he said, I can't believe you're such a big chef, you're pious here living in such a crappy, rubbish conditions. And the man said to him, because I live here, no one gives me their amanat to look after, and because no one gives me their amanat to look after, I don't get tempted in anything. So by having not very little, and having that, you're not getting tempted in anything. So you having all the blessings of the world might have actually led to your destruction if you're not careful, because the tests go up. So you're not supposed to have everything that you want in this world, because it's not good for you, you don't know, and you can't handle it. But in the next world, there's no jeopardy. Nothing bad can happen to you there. Everything's lawful for you there. That's where you really want the life you want to live to. Then, what time are we ready? 9:30 or before that? Or
whenever you want.
Just let me know if you get a bit bored, then we can stop quickly. But the next 3 verses actually then remind the Prophet ﷺ that Allah Ta'ala hasn't left you. Allah Ta'ala is with you, and Allah Ta'ala will make you happy and give you stuff. Then Allah Ta'ala gives proof of this. And this is something we need to remember. Allah Ta'ala says, Alam yajitka yatima fa'awa, that were you not an orphan and we gave you shelter? And wajadaka dalan fahada, and were you not unaware of things and we made you and we guided you towards those things? This is a very dangerous verse, because a lot of people are mistranslated this verse and taking the word dalan to mean misguided. Na'udzubillah. The Prophet was never misguided. So if you know my book, Knowing the Quran, where I've written tafsir of these, I've written 50 pages on this surah and tafsir, and there's about 25 meanings of mufassir mention of dalan, which we're looking at now. And the most common meaning is, you were unaware of things and we told you. You know, everybody else was unaware, but there's a difference between unaware and being misguided, na'udzubillah. and Allah Ta'ala guided you. But وَجَدَكَ عَائِلًا فَأَغْنَى, we found you in need and we made you ghani, we made you rich. So Allah Ta'ala is saying that, look at your lives. Where were you? If you're thinking you're going through bad times and Allah Ta'ala has left you, where were you before? Remember the blessings Allah Ta'ala has given you. Allah Ta'ala has given you so many blessings. I don't know what, look at any particular bad situation. Not like, I didn't get a job today. I'm not saying I didn't apply for a job today, but saying I didn't get a job. Oh my God, the whole world's collapsing and Allah Ta'ala has left me, the world's so bad, and you fall into depression. But you still got a job, or you had a job. And if you didn't have a job, you got health. Allah Ta'ala's taken you from nothing to where you are today. You might have missed out on a business deal, you might have missed out on a contract, but at least you were able to bid for that contract. Why are you forgetting about all the blessings that got you to this position? Where were we? Where were our parents? Most of us our parents and our grandparents came from a different country. Where were we? We were in utter poverty, especially us people in Azad Kashmir. We were in utter poverty, especially when the dam took all our land and our farming land. What did we have? We had nothing. But look what Allah Ta'ala gave us. He gave us opportunity in this country. He gave us this. He nourished us. He's given you health. Allah Ta'ala's given you knowledge. So Allah Ta'ala has given you all this much through all your lives. If you've had now one little bad thing or something, or you're going through a bad patch, why are you forgetting about all of the blessings? So this is another lesson of getting through bad times, is remember the blessings Allah Ta'ala has given you. And be thankful for those blessings and be grateful. And then put them in and put your misery that you have in this small misery or this small bad time in the context of all of that. You might not have got this job. What about the other 10 jobs that you got previously? You might not have got, you might not been able to buy that 20th house that you wanted. What about the other 19 houses you've got? What about all those? Look at all those things that Allah has given you and how He's taken you potentially from where you are. And if you realise that the difference between success and failure is very small. You getting a job and you not getting a job could be, down to a very small thing, and those little small things, Allah Ta'ala blessed you with that and gave you that success. So remember all the blessings. So whenever you are going through bad times, you remember the good times from Allah Ta'ala and console yourself. Conversely, when you're going through good times, remember the bad times, because that will then keep you grounded and make you even more grateful for all the good that Allah Ta'ala has given you, because you realise where you could have been. Thank Allah. I mean, if you ever go to Pakistan, a place like that, when I went to Pakistan in the 80s, an old man said to us that, you guys come from England and, think you're the kings around here. And we did, because, we had, even 10 people have bought you a bottle of Coke with it. In the 80s, nobody could drink Coke in our areas because it was so, seen as a luxury. But we were like that. We had watches on our hands and things like that. I don't know if you remember the 4-button watches and 3-button digital watches and 2-button digital watches. But they were classics. But a person said to us that if you guys didn't get visas to Pakistan, to England, you'd have probably working as servants in people's houses. And that brought me back to me thinking how lucky we were that we were able to give an opportunity somewhere else. Or else, if we'd have stayed there, who knows where we would have been, who knows what we would have had. So Allah has blessed us with all of these good things. So remember where we could have easily been, very easily. And now you think about all those poor people, our brothers and sisters, both from Pakistan, from Africa, who are risking their lives on boats to get here. Whether that's right or wrong, but they're risking their lives and they're paying so much money to get here. Mortgaging everything they've got, selling everything they've got to get here. How lucky are we that we're here? That we came here without that trouble. So remember in your good times, so when you're driving around in your Porsche and you're sitting there, having your massive meals in restaurants, remember there's people out there with a lot worse than us. So stay grounded and thank Allah Ta'ala for these blessings. And this is what the next. So what do? The next 3 verses now, last 3 verses, then tell you what to do. So as I said, you change your mindset to get out of depression, to get out of bad times, but then you move on to doing something practical. Allah Ta'ala says, فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ. And as for the orphan, don't scold him, don't kick him, don't shout at him. And وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْحَرْ. And don't shout and don't push away the questioner. So this means that even though you're going through a bad period, remember people worse off than you. And don't just remember them, help them. So the Prophet ﷺ, there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which I won't go into now, but if you read that, you'll see that when he comes out, The Prophet ﷺ said, even if a beggar asks, questioner comes to you wearing gold bangles, give him something. Because your job is to give, not to question. Give him. And there's many of these talk about you're not allowed to beg. And you know, the Prophet ﷺ said, you know, if you've got 2 meals, you're not allowed to ask anybody anything. And the Prophet ﷺ, you know, said some bad things about people who ask money to increase their wealth. So that's their problem. If somebody's begging and asking for stuff when they're not allowed to, when they shouldn't be, that's their problem. Your job is to support. So if you are going through bad times, give, support others. You know, show Allah Ta'ala, show the world that even though I'm going through a bad period of time, I can. And you see people inside, they're really struggling, really depressed. But when they meet you with a smile. They meet you and support you. They meet you and they will make you happy. And that's what Allah Ta'ala is saying here. Don't forget the orphans. Don't forget the questions people in need, because we were like that once. They said earlier, that could have been us. So, and also by you giving, it will make you feel better. You also, when you give and support somebody, you realize actually I'm better than this person. There's people worse off than me. In the deen, always look at people better than you in religious matters, because they can aspire to them. In worldly matters, always look at people worse than you and be grateful. You know, always look at people worse than you, not people better than you. Don't aspire to people in the world to be better, to be like them. Look at the people worse off than you and realize how better you are from that than them and how blessed you are. So when you give to them, you realize that you're actually giving them, and that's a blessing of Allah Ta'ala. You're actually being able to help them and you're able to support them. So give in bad times, and you realize this. You know, if you're studying or you're doing like training, you know, physical training, you know, the days when you don't feel like training, or the days, you know, you don't feel like studying, those are the days that you really got to study, and those are the train. They're the days that make the difference, because you keep going. Once you stop training or studying, you fall out of the routine and rhythm. Once you fall out of the routine and rhythm, it's hard to get back into it. Similarly here, if you're going through a bad period, don't stop giving, don't stop doing good things, because once you fall out of the rhythm, you're going to go on a downward spiral again. So start giving, start supporting others, and give that out. And the next one, last verse, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ again. And the blessings of your Lord, mention them. Again, I'm not going to go into this because it's a long topic again. But mention the blessings of your Lord. That's one of the ways to get out of depression. Mention good things. One of the things people do when they're depressed, one of the techniques that they do, is that you kind of close your eyes and you imagine a good time that you had, and you try and remember the smells that were there, you try and remember the sounds that were there, and you try and like bring that inside yourself. So you try and place yourself in that position. You remember the good times, you remember the good positions, good things, and that brings you out that particular, makes you feel better in that particular moment in time. So you remember the blessings. No matter how bad your situation is, you've always got blessings. You know, we have the famous story about one of the Sufiya, that he was one of the kings, and he was in a jungle without any water. And a person came to him and said, if I gave you half a glass of water, what would you give me? He said, I'll give you half of my kingdom. And he said, okay. So he gave him half of his kingdom. And then he said, why don't you give me another half? He goes, give me the rest of your kingdom. So he said, give me another glass of water, and then give me my kingdom. And the guy said, you know, you've given up the whole kingdom for one glass of water. What about the entity that's given you all of this stuff himself? What have you given for that person? So you realize that, you know, your dunya that you take pride of, all these blessings, that all this possession is equivalent to one glass of water. And what about the Lord who nourishes you and feeds you every day? Well, how would you even recompense his blessings? So you can never understand all the blessings that Allah Ta'ala has given you. And the ulama said that you should mention your good deeds to good people and to your good friends. So if you've got close friends who are good and you're not pretentious, you should mention to them that, you know what, I gave a lot of charity last night, I prayed a lot. Don't advertise to other people, but mention it to other people. Because one, it then makes, it brings them towards the deen, it encourages them to do it as well. But it's also you telling them that Allah Ta'ala has blessed me with this benefit. Allah Ta'ala has given you the ability. So don't say, I did this. You say, Allah Ta'ala, you know, Allah Ta'ala gave me the ability to help such and such an orphan. Allah Ta'ala gave me the ability to build a well. Allah Ta'ala gave me the ability to write this book. Allah Ta'ala gave me the ability to do this. So you say in that context, not in the context when I'm the big man, look how much I'm giving, but you remember, it said, بَنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ. You remember the blessings of your Lord, not your blessings, not your achievements, the blessings of your Lord. And when you realize your achievements are the blessings of your Lord, you remind them as the blessing of your Lord. So you tell each other that, you know, Allah Ta'ala has blessed me with this. And just getting it off your chest actually then shows gratitude to Allah Ta'ala. Because gratitude comes from the heart, but it also comes from the tongue as well. So effectively, by you telling your close friends that you were able to give this charity, you're effectively saying thanks to Allah Ta'ala, that Allah Ta'ala gave me the ability, Allah Ta'ala gave me the mindset and the thought process to do all of this good stuff. So don't advertise it to the whole world, but tell your close friends, because then you've made them witness to the fact that you gave gratitude for that thing. So you tell your good friends to do that. So mention, that's what it said, had this, don't say remember. It doesn't say about the zakir, don't remember it. Had this, speak it. Comes with hadith, speak it. So mention it. So mention it to your close friends that Allah has given this ability to us to do this. So may Allah Ta'ala keep us away from all this depression. May Allah Ta'ala give us that mindset to remember all the blessings that Allah Ta'ala has given us, and also to remember that actually these bad times apparently are blessings for us. And remember, our criteria is skewed. With a product of our environment, what we think is bad might be good for us, and what we think is good for us is actually bad for us. So the thing that you think you're in a good time, that might actually be your really bad time. And what you think is your bad time, that might actually turn out to be your best time. I mean, how many times you look back now to your college days and your school days and you know, they were great days. By the time when you were studying hard and stressed out with exams, you thought these are bad times. But now having come out of it this end, you look back and think, actually they were great days, or they were good days. Even people who used to work, you know, hated going to work. Once they retired, they look back, oh, those actually were really good days. I used to meet my mates, I had something to do. Now I've got nothing to do. So you don't realise at the time that these are good or bad times. It's only when you get to the end, you realise those are bad times. Saying that Amir Muawiyah, you know, when they were about to pass away, they said that all of these trouble, he was the governor of Sham, one of the biggest, you know, he was one of the biggest, the first sultan, they say, of Islamic world. He ruled all of these domains. His famous saying that when they were about to die, they said that, you know, I'd rather have been somebody living in a village unknown than having to go through all of these torments and all these pressures that I had. So at the time you think, you know, ruler of all these kingdoms, but you don't realize the pressures. It's only when you get to the end of your life. You know, one of the great sayings that our English friend says that nobody in the deathbed wish they spent more time at work. You know, at the time you're thinking, you know, I've got to work more, that's good for me, this is good for me. But when you end up about to die, you realize that all of that time was a waste. You never really enjoyed it. So what you think is bad now, and what you think is good now might not necessarily be good or bad for you. So you just got to ride it through and try and make the best of whatever it is. So may Allah give us that ability. You can read the 99 names. So we'll just read the 99 names of Allah Ta'ala and we'll end on that.